We all have our own biases of how things work. Like, how would I design things? Like, why would I design things in a certain way? Because in my head, I'm the one who's gonna use it. But in reality, right, what about everybody else? How are they gonna use this product?
In your team, you need to create that safe space that they can say whatever they want to say within the context of work pa rin, syempre. Like, if there's a certain process that needs to be cut, or if they think that we're having too many meetings in a week, sige, let's consider removing stuff.
Most of us are using mobile devices. Most of us are spending time online. So cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Inclusive design is thinking about, would everyone be able to interact with that park?
We are smart citizens and let's become smarter together.
And incorporate these practices into your everyday routine.
We really need to help, any possible way that we can.
Because so many of these people out there are suffering, and we're just very blessed.
Women need to feel that they're in the presence of other reliable, responsible, and justice-driven women to further fuel their drive to excel.
If you're improving 1% a day, you'll improve 365% by the end of the year.
Tech is accessible for every Filipino youth, regardless of their gender or socioeconomic status.
Life is filled with
What? Monster Math presents Counting to 10.
We all have our own biases of how things work. Like how would I design things, like why would I design things in a certain way? Because in my head, I'm the one who's gonna use it. But in reality, right, what about everybody else? How are they gonna use this product?
In your team, you need to create that safe space that they can say whatever they want to say within the context of work pa rin, syempre. Like, if there's a certain process that needs to be cut, or if they think that we're having too many meetings in a week, sige, let's consider removing some.
Most of us are using mobile devices. Most of us are spending time online. So cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Inclusive design is thinking about, would everyone be able to interact with that park?
We are smart citizens and let's become smarter together.
And incorporate these practices into your everyday routine.
We really need to help, any possible way that we can.
Because so many of these people out there are suffering, and we're just very blessed.
Women need to feel that they're in the presence of other reliable, responsible, and justice-driven women to further fuel their drive to excel.
If you're improving 1% a day, you'll improve 365% by the end of the year.
Tech is accessible for every Filipino youth, regardless of their gender or socioeconomic status.
Eyes were soft, touched the moon. Why did you leave me that soon? I can't wait to see you in the morning, in the bed where you're the king.
We all have our own biases of how things work. Like, how would I design things? Like, why would I design things in a certain way? Because in my head, I'm the one who's gonna use it. But in reality, right, what about everybody else? How are they gonna use this product?
In your team, you need to create that safe space that they can say whatever they want to say within the context of work pa rin, syempre. Like, if there's a certain process that needs to be cut, or if they think that we're having too many meetings in a week, sige, let's consider removing some.
Most of us are using mobile devices. Most of us are spending time online. So cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you for waiting. I had a bit of a technical problem due to my internet connection, but fortunately, I'm here already. So, good afternoon, everyone. It's a rainy afternoon, 'di ba? Kahit na nagkakaproblema yung internet, but thankfully here we are. So, hello everyone. Um, So my presentation is about improving quality of life using a holistic approach to self-care. All right. So let me give you a few background about me. So I am Gwen, a counselor from a university from Rizal Araneta University, and right now we healthcare professionals um talagang mas, yung advocacy namin for mental health mas talagang pinapalakas siya due to, negative outside circumstances, ano. So, this webinar kasi 'di ba this is like the first webinar of Women Tech Makers Manila. Thank you for inviting me anyway. And it's been an honor. It's really an honor to present your first mental health webinar. And thank you for your patience, for waiting for me, despite the technical problems that I had. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so again, the title of my presentation today is Improving Quality of Life Using a Holistic Approach to Self-Care. Okay. Okay, so before I start discussing what self-care is, 'di ba? Magkaroon muna tayo ng konting situationer. Let's put things into context. So, currently we are experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic, 'di ba? This is everywhere in the news. Kahit saan ka magpunta, every experiences that we are currently having right now connected sa COVID, 'di ba? Online classes, bakit? Dahil sa COVID, very limited. Nawalan ng trabaho dahil sa COVID. So kahit saan ka magpunta, walang takas. COVID ang nasa isip ng mga tao, no? And ang COVID-19 is not a pleasant experience. It's a heavy, shocking experience, not just for us Filipinos, but for the whole world. That's why it's called a pandemic, kasi kumalat na siya sa buong mundo. It's a big, big problem. Okay, so the COVID pandemic presents waves. Dumating siya sa alon ng krisis, ng problema. Alright, so let's see the first wave. Physical health crisis. Ang COVID-19 naman talaga is a physical health crisis, right? Maraming nagkakasakit, no? Maraming namamatay, 'di ba? So sakit siya. Next is economic crisis. Dito pumapasok sa economic crisis yung safety measure na inimplement ng government in countries around the world to prevent or to manage COVID. Ito yung tinatawag na quarantine, 'di ba? Nag-start yung quarantine natin itong if I'm not mistaken, itong March, and nagkaroon siya ng iba't ibang klase, 'di ba? ECQ, GCQ, yung ibang places, and ECQ na. Diba? But then, one solid or constant feature of quarantine is nasa loob lang tayo ng bahay. You know, we were deprived of the daily usual things, routines that we usually do, like going to school, you know, eating outside, spending time with our friends, diba? Just merely walking to get some fresh air. We cannot do that. We're just stuck inside the house. We're left with no choice, diba? But then again, we're doing this for the greater good, diba? Hopefully it the pandemic or the crisis ends sooner. So again, back to what I was talking about, economic crisis brought by COVID-19, quarantine. Okay, a lot of people are not allowed to go outside, to go to their jobs, you know, dahil nalulugi yung mga companies, they were forced to close. So walang pera yung mga tao, 'di ba? Kahit na ikaw nakaluluwag-luwag ka before quarantine, you tightened up your budget, 'di ba? Para mapagpatuloy yung survival natin, kailangan talaga natin mag-adjust. Yung economic crisis na nararanasan natin ngayon, hindi siya madali. Kasi, you know, unemployment is an all-time high, 'di ba? Ang hirap isipin yung survival kapag yung basic needs mo, yung na-deprive sa'yo. 'Di ba? Saan ka kukuha ng pangkain kung wala kang pera? Saan ka kukuha ng pera kung wala kang trabaho? So isa 'yan talaga sa mabigat na problema na dala ng COVID-19 pandemic. And here comes third wave. I just want to remind you na itong mga waves na to, they are still existing ha. Hindi porket yung first wave, ayan, tapos na. Dahil nandito na tayo sa second wave, wala na yung first wave. Or dahil nandito na tayo sa third wave, wala na yung second wave. Like waves, kumbaga nag-overlap lang sila with one another, but they are still there. Nandun pa rin sila. Okay? Going to the third crisis, mental health crisis. Alright, dito na lumalabas yung mga concerns na na-trigger nitong unang dalawang wave. You know, sa physical health crisis, nag-aalala tayo na baka kahit baka asymptomatic lang tayo, 'di ba? Meron tayong sakit, merong anxiety dahil wala nang mass testing, 'di ba? So hindi natin alam kung baka tayo meron sakit at asymptomatic lang tayo. It creates anxiety, worry, you know, not only for us but also for our loved ones. 'Di ba? Takot tayong lumabas kasi baka yung makakasalamuhan natin is infected, 'di ba? A lot of people died and it brings us loss or grief, right? And also I would also just like to relate grief and loss sa mga plans na na-cancel, 'di ba? Kasi a lot of people are discounting other people for being sad kasi hindi nakapag-debut, hindi nakapag-birthday, 'di ba? Hindi attend ng graduation rites or walang graduation rites na naganap at all. These are normal emotions, 'di ba? These are part of our mental health. These are the things that we are so looking forward to doing. Diba? And then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened and it was canceled. It can create a void in our minds na parang, wow, ang tagal ko na yung pinagplanuhan pero wala nangyari. Okay? So that are the types of grief, 'di ba? Yung sa ngayon nararanasan. Yung nawalan ng loved one, that's very painful. And also yung mga tao na nagkaroon ng missed opportunities dahil hindi natuloy due to the pandemic. Alam ko every one of us has that na sana nandito ako ngayon, sana ganito na ako ngayon, 'di ba? Next, sa economic crisis, how does it affect our mental health? 'Di ba, a lot of people nag-aalala sila Nag-aalala sila kung saan kukuha ng pangkain. Maraming namamalimos sa kalsada na dati hindi naman nila naisip na mamamalimos sila sa kalsada dahil naghahanap buhay naman sila ng maayos. But then, kapag lumabas ka, makikita mo yung mga jeepney drivers, 'di ba, na dati marangal sila, yung trabaho nila. I mean, I'm not saying na hindi sila marangal ngayon, pero it may really took a toll on their emotions na dati namamasada ako sa kalsada, 'di ba? Pero ngayon nanghingi ako ng pera sa ibang tao, 'di ba? Ang hirap ilagay natin yung sarili natin sa sitwasyon nila. Napakahirap ng nararanasan nila. Okay, and also back to quarantine, maraming naka-quarantine na in isolation, 'di ba? Mag-isa sila. And napakahirap nun, especially ilang buwan na tayo nasa quarantine, yung mga na-stuck dito sa Manila na hindi makauwi sa probinsya. Just imagine kung gaano na kabigat or gaano na sila kalungkot ngayon dahil ang tagal na nila umaasa na makasama na nila yung mahal nila sa buhay. Again, it's a toll. It's a threat to their mental health. Okay? And also, the same do sa mga tao na kasama sa bahay yung mga hindi nila gusto makasama or hindi sila okay. You know, kahit na kompleto sila, you know, medyo comfortable naman, we can show it into their faces na, sus, komportable ka naman dyan, di ba? You know, when they feel not okay in the house, when they feel alone, no, it's a valid emotion. It takes a toll on their mental health. So that's basically wave 2. So that's, you know, yung epekto ng wave 1, wave 2, and sa wave 3. So these three are interconnected. Okay? Alright. So, yung NASA, nag-release sila lately ng, alam niyo, parang fake ticket na going to Mars. I personally joined this. Kasi di ba nakakaaliw? Nakakaaliw na makita mo yung pangalan mo sa ticket. Parang ano lang, wala. Parang playtime lang, ganun. So, as I read na, yung nakalagay dito sa screen, sabi this is from the Twitter account of The Enquirer. You know, the Philippines stops the reservation for future Mars mission as of 6:30 a.m. on Friday, July 1,146,930 reservations came from the Philippines, diba? A total of 2 million plus. Diba, parang may nakita akong tweet na gano'n na ba katindi yung kagustuhan ng Pinoy na umalis sa Pinas, diba? Parang kahit na joke lang siya, diba, parang napaisip ako, oo nga, no, subconsciously, ang hindi ko na gusto talaga yung nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas. Kung paano na-handle yung COVID, di ba? Marami pang COVID-related casualties yung nangyayari ngayon. And it makes you question, is Philippines still a good place to live? Di ba? Is it still more fun in the Philippines? Di ba? So, with everything that's happening, COVID-related man or hindi, we cannot deny na hindi talaga magaganda yung nangyayari sa paligid natin ngayon. And one way or another, or in several ways, it really takes a toll on our well-being. Okay. So, diniscuss ko yun, yung previous slides, as a forerunner para maintindihan. Kumbaga, bumuwela tayo. Gaano ba kahalaga sa ngayon yung self-care? 'Di ba? Ano naman, anong epekto ng self-care? Bakit kailangan ko mag-self-care? Ang dami na nga nangyayari sa paligid ngayon, 'di ba? Ang dami na nga nangyayari tapos Parang selfish naman kung mag-self-care pa ako, 'di ba? So, next slide, we will see no kung paano dinefine ng World Health Organization yung self-care. So, as said in here, self-care is the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. Alright, so we can see na yung self-care hindi lang siya touchy-feely na term na parang ginagamit ng mga tao to parang relax or as a luxurious habit or attitude, no. Self-care is even defined by the World Health Organization as an essential part of taking care of ourselves. No, it is needed to protect ourselves, especially in this time of a pandemic. Diba, bakit mahalagang mag-self-care ngayon? Diba napakahalaga ngayon na, nakalagay dito to prevent disease, maintain health, 'di ba? To cope with illness and disability. Just imagine, 'di ba, kung hindi natin inaalagaan yung immune system natin ngayon. Napakahirap magkasakit sa panahon ngayon, 'di ba? Una sa lahat, before everything else nang nangyari lahat ng 'to, mahirap na magkasakit dahil ang mahal ng medical care, 'di ba? Especially now, in this difficult time, pag nagkasakit ka and you need hospitalization, saan ka dadalhin? 'Di ba? Kahit na hindi COVID yung sakit mo ang hirap kasi punong-puno na yung hospitals natin ng COVID patients. Especially pag nagkasakit ka pa ng COVID, 'di ba? And one chronic disease, mauubos lahat ng ipon mo or maybe kahit gumaling ka, magbabayad ka pa rin ng utang. And yung ganong kalaking pera, sobrang hirap kitain. Kaya dapat nating alagaan yung immune system natin. And we can connect this to self-care. Di ba parang, pag sinabi kasing self-care, please look at the next bullet, di ba? The term self-care nowadays is more inclined to mental health. Okay, so I have a question for y'all. Okay, so please answer, what word or few words come to mind when you hear the word self-care? You can answer through, FB comment section, just to see kung ano ba yung sa tingin nyo na kapag narinig nyo yung self-care, ano yung mga salita ang pumapasok sa isip nyo. So, can you please type your comments or anything? Okay, so I'll be waiting.
Be waiting. Be waiting.
Okay, so I've seen comments from the audiences. Nakalagay dito, okay, 8 to 10 hours of sleep, health, meditation, reflection, taking a break from whatever stresses me out. Okay, last one, quiet time. Okay, honestly, tama naman lahat ng responses, yes. Kasi lahat ng responses really evolves on taking care of yourself. Alright, so sa demographics natin, sa audiences natin, I noticed na wala namang mali sa sinagot nila, wala namang misconception. But I really just want to emphasize kung ano ba talaga yung self-care. Okay. Honestly, when I realized yung title na holistic approach to self-care, medyo naisip ko na parang ang redundant. Parang ang redundant kasi saying self, yung self itself is holistic. You cannot say na you cannot define self na body lang. You cannot define self na ang tinutukoy mo lang is mind. You cannot define self na ang tinutukoy mo lang ay spirit. Okay? When we say self, it our mind, body, and spirit are interconnected. So, nagpo-function yung tatlo na yan para buuin kung ano ba tayo, yung sarili natin. Okay, ngayon, dahil ganun yung self, 'di ba? Dapat sa self-care natin, we should take into consideration these three factors. 'Di ba? Dapat hindi tayo sa self-care, hindi lang tayo naka-focus sa body, hindi lang tayo naka-focus sa mind, hindi lang tayo naka-focus sa spirit. We should remember that these three factors are interconnected. We cannot separate them. We cannot divorce them from each other. Okay, so how do we do that? Ayan. So, bago tayo pumunta kung paano natin ba mapapractice yung holistic approach to self-care, tingin muna tayo ng misconceptions about self-care. Alright. Self-care is expensive. Self-care is all about pleasure. Self-care is occasional. Self-care is selfish. Ayan. So, punta tayo dito sa first misconception, which is self-care is expensive. Okay, tignan niyo yung mga images, yung mga pictures na nasa screen. So, sabi dyan, nakalagay dyan doon sa una, pinakamalaking picture. Diba? A great philosopher once said, pag hindi ako nakapag-add to cart, parang nanghihina ako. Diba? It pertains to people, the strong urge of people to really, splurge on online shopping. Next naman is Netflix and self-care. Kapag sinabing self-care, incline siya sa Netflix binge watching ng mga series, 'di ba? Next naman, kita natin dito sa right side, merong babae na parang meron siyang mask sa mukha and may cucumber siya sa dalawang mata niya, 'di ba? And last, 'di ba? It's a pandemic, baby. So I whispered to myself as I hit purchase to saturate my serotonin and dopamine receptors. Okay, these things are called self-pampering, 'di ba? Factor sila ng self-care, but then again, maraming tao na ina-associate lang yung self-care sa self-pampering na porket nag-binge watching sila sa Netflix, hashtag self-care. Online shopping, hashtag self-care. Magpipicture sila na may mask, hashtag self-care Sunday. And again, there is nothing bad about that. Honestly, it's very important. I just like to reiterate that it's very important. But self-pampering is not all self-care. To illustrate this, please look at this diagram. As you can see, the bigger circle is, self-care. And the smaller circle in the middle is self-pampering. To explain this, I would just like to say that self-pampering is only a portion of self-care. Hindi siya, pag sinabing, kasi yun yung misconception di ba? Na kapag, okay, I'm giving pleasure to myself by doing pleasurable activities, hashtag self-care. I would just like to repeat again na hindi siya self-care talaga. Hindi lang yon yung self-care. Maybe it's a form of your self-care, but it's not what self-care is just all about. Kasi yun na yung nagiging misconception ng mga tao di ba? Self-care is expensive. Paano ako makakapag-self-care? Wala naman akong perang pang online shopping. Paano ako makakapag-self-care? Wala naman akong pang bayad na subscription sa Netflix. So, again, self-care is not a luxury. Self-care is not expensive, and it is for everyone. In the next slides, I will further discuss on the point that self-care is for everyone. So, paano nga ba nagiging sustainable or paano nagiging doable yung self-care? Okay, so I showed kanina yung diagram ng holistic approach to self-care, right? Merong body, merong mind, merong spirit. So first, let's discuss self-care in the body. Alright. Did you know na connected, na we cannot separate mind from the body? Na if you sleep like, very late and you wake up very late in the afternoon, have you noticed na you feel tired? You don't feel refreshed at all kahit na 15 hours, 12 hours yung tinulog mo. 'Di ba parang nagiging grumpy, nagiging irritable yung mood because it's a body experience, yung kulang sa tulog, that affects an emotional experience, which is kapag kulang ka sa tulog, nagiging grumpy ka, nagiging irritable ka, nagiging madali kang malungkot, or you're more susceptible to a negative mood. Again, another example is of emotional experience that results to a physical reaction, 'di ba? Let's say na you were embarrassed. It's an emotional experience, right? How does your body react to being embarrassed, 'di ba? As you can notice, there is shaking, 'di ba? Nag-shake yung mga limbs mo or yung hands mo. Your heart beats faster, 'di ba? Your palms are sweating. So again, this is an example of a physical reaction to an emotional experience. So paano nga ba natin use into advantage itong fact na ito na our body and mind are inseparable? So I would like to introduce to you the positivity juices or happy hormones. Okay, these are the dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. Honestly, ang dami pang happy hormones or magic chemicals na nasa katawan natin, but these four are the ones responsible to making us feel good. 'Di ba? And I would just like to say na this proves etong apat na hormones na to, this can make us feel good. This just proves that self-care is sustainable. 'Di ba? These four happy hormones, hindi mo kailangan gumastos. Hindi mo kailangan na to take extra measures beyond your limits para ma-activate itong apat na to be happy to activate these hormones. So, I will discuss them one by one and also ways that we can activate them and also ways where we can, use them and incorporate them in our self-care routine. Okay, the first chemical is dopamine. So dopamine, this chemical is produced in our brain, no? Yung dopamine na produce siya kapag to stimulate feelings of pride and reward. Diba? It's a feel-good hormone. Diba parang, let's say na you achieved something na para sa'yo is valuable. Yung bagay na yun, gustong-gusto mo yun mangyari. And then you work hard for it and then you achieve it. Diba you feel a sense of pride na wow, natapos ko to. In those times, diba you feel good. Dopamine is being released. No, yung brain natin, nagre-release siya ng dopamine. That's why you feel good. But the thing is, dopamine, the more you want it, the more you should try to get it. So basically, do more to get more. Yun. So if you want a stronger boost in dopamine, you should do more. You should try to do activities, do rewarding activities. So, ano naman yung nangyayari? Paano mo naman malalaman kung kulang ka sa dopamine? So people who have deficiency in the production of dopamine tends to feel tired all the time. We tend to feel helpless, and we have low motivation. Bakit? Kasi nga parang mababa yung parang level of achievement natin, 'di ba? Yung sense of achievement, mababa siya dahil nga hindi nakakapag-produce yung brain ng dopamine. And also, more important data is dysfunction in dopamine is linked to depression. So kapag feeling natin na parang worthless tayo, wala tayong na-achieve, if we if we weren't able to manage that, and marami pang symptoms syempre, we are susceptible to developing a mental disorder such as depression. So paano natin siya maaagapan, 'di ba? Paano tayo makakagawa in our own way na hindi tayo mag-succumb to developing depression? Okay, what to do to boost dopamine production? First is complete a task, 'di ba? Write your short-term goals, your long-term goals, and achieve them one by one step at a time. Take baby steps, whatever it is that can make you feel like you've achieved something. Okay, second, eating food that stimulates dopamine production. Nilagay ko dito yung chicken, fish, nuts, but you can also search that sa Google. Siyempre, credible sites. Okay? And lastly yun, celebrating small victories, little victories as related to the first bullets. So in summary, in order for us to um, help in our body's production of dopamine, we should do active efforts. We should incorporate, little achievement of little goals to our self-care. May it be paghugas ng pinggan, nakahugas ako ng pinggan in just 10 minutes. Ang dami nun. Natulog ako ng 10 p.m. Wow, I achieved that. 'Di ba? And dopamines will come flowing and it will make you feel good. So that's self-care. That's self-care inducing dopamine. Next, serotonin. So what does serotonin do? It helps you regulate your mood and it regulates appetite. Take note of this, sobrang daming nagagawa ng serotonin, ng function niya. It regulates appetite, sleep, digestion, learning ability, and memory. Okay, so anong nagagawa kapag yung isang tao kulang ng serotonin? So, ang taong may deficiency sa production ng serotonin ng brain niya, may tend to have unstable mood, obsessive behavior. So, obsessive behavior kasi kumbaga, we tend to focus on just one thought. Paulit-ulit-ulit na lang siya nasa isip natin. Kaya hindi siya natatanggal sa isip natin and we become obsessive with that thought. And that thought translates to a behavior. Okay, next, trouble in sleeping. As I've mentioned earlier, serotonin regulates sleep. Being forgetful dahil nga connected siya sa memory and lack of concentration. So, knowing the effects of deficiency in serotonin, what should we do to boost our serotonin production? First of all, is nakalagay dito meditate. Meditation, 'di ba parang just putting yourself in a relaxed state, focusing on the environment, trying to empty your mind, just letting your senses work. It helps in stabilizing your mood. Kasi it can help you focus on what's happening around you, 'di ba? Second is workout, 'di ba? Working out releases happy hormones na kapag natapos tayo mag-workout, kahit na, the muscles burn, we feel good despite that. Number 3 is practice mindful breathing. It's also a component of meditation. So basically, we need serotonin. We need to incorporate behaviors that induce the serotonin production in our self-care kasi it aids sleep. And we know how important sleep is. And also, it regulates mood. Kailangan nating magkaroon ng stable mood in order to feel good, in order to think clearly. Kasi if our mood is all over the place, di ba parang it's not a desirable situation. It's not a desirable condition. Nakakairita, nakakainis. It does not promote mental health. Okay? Third is oxytocin or the love hormone. So what does oxytocin do? paano nai-induce yung oxytocin. So, oxytocin boosts trust, empathy, and bonding in relationships. And oxytocin levels generally increase with physical affection like kissing, cuddling, and sex. So, as you can notice, parang merong concern sa production of oxytocin natin. Kasi 'di ba we are currently away from each other. We're away from our friends, from people who enjoy being with. Karamihan sa kanila, 'di ba? We're away from them. And oxytocin is induced kapag kasama mo yung mga tao na malapit sa'yo, na nag-e-enjoy kang kasama. So, paano yun, di ba? Paano yun? Paano yun sa kondisyon natin ngayon na nagpi-physical distancing tayo? Okay. Most people ngayon in isolation, baka nagkakaroon sila ng oxytocin deficiency. So, paano ba malalaman, no, kapag ang isang tao ay nagkakaproblema sa production ng oxytocin sa brain niya? Number one, of course, lonely, di ba? We feel alone because we don't have people around us that makes us happy. We are not connected to those people who are making us happy. Hence, we feel lonely. We feel tired. Kasi, di ba, can you like go back to a time before everything happens na you spend time with your friends? Kahit na ang dami yung ginawang activities, parang hindi nakakapagod kasi you're with them, you're happy, you feel happy. Hindi nakakapagod na makasama yung mga taong gusto mong makasama. But then again, that is robbed from us, this quarantine. Kaya parang kung feeling mo lagi kang pagod, di ba, irritable, siguro dahil yun dun. Kasi hindi mo nakakasama yung mga taong pwede makapagpasaya sa'yo, makapag-add ng factor sa happiness na pwede mong maranasan ngayon. Number 3, kapag kulang ka sa oxytocin, you may feel worthless. Iba yung mga tao na hindi sila masyado nakikisalamuha sa ibang tao. They have this tendency na I feel worthless because nobody wants to be with me, parang ganun. They have the tendency to feel that. We may feel that ngayon. We may feel worthless. Kasi the people around us adds value to ourselves. Okay, so what do we do to boost oxytocin production? Ang pinaka-antidote talaga sa kung paano natin may iwasan yung malungkot due to isolation, to feeling of aloneness, is to communicate with our loved ones. We have to maintain our connection with them. Despite not being physically present to be with them, there are other means. Pwede natin silang i-chat or, video chat na text, video chat, or just tagging each other in memes, diba? Just to feel na nandyan pa rin sila. It gives an oxytocin boost. Number 2, kung may pets kayo, you can cuddle with them, diba? Kasi you feel loved yung mga pets, especially dogs, cats, diba? Very sila, kapag niyakap mo sila or you're playing with them, it's amusing. And lastly, you can hug yourself. Parang ganito. Alam niyo yun? Kasi, again, oxytocin is boosted in physical interactions. Physical touch, di ba? When we hug our loved ones, physical connection. So, you can hug yourself, di ba? It's all that matters. As long as you love yourself, hug yourself, di ba? Kahit na hindi mo love yung sarili mo, just hug yourself. But again, you should love yourself. And through self-care, you will learn that. Alright, so those are the ways that we can boost oxytocin. So basically, in this pandemic, we can boost the production of our oxytocin by connecting to people. Connecting to people we have meaningful relationships with. We can incorporate that to our self-care. And lastly, endorphins. So what are endorphins? Endorphins are natural pain relievers that the body produces to manage stress. Diba? Parang ito yung natural na na alaksan ng katawan natin. So hindi na natin kailangan mag-take ng alaksan as long as, or any pain reliever of some sort. As long as, alam niyo yun, sufficient or adequate na nakapag-produce natural pain relievers, yung katawan natin. It can help us in managing our pain, whether it be emotional or physical. Okay, you need to produce endorphins. Parang, okay, kailangan ng katawan ko ng tulong sa pag-produce ng endorphins when I feel na I'm always stressed out. Because stress stimulates pain. 'Di ba? Parang emotional pain, of course. And also, nagtatranscend na din siya sa physical pain. Yung iba na sobrang nasa-stress, naninikip yung dibdib nila, sumasakit yung ulo. So, that's pain. And in order to combat that, we need our natural pain relievers, which are endorphins. Okay, next, you need to produce endorphins when you're always anxious. Okay, and last, when you're having trouble sleeping. Okay, what to do to boost endorphin productions? Again, we should laugh, 'di ba? Kasi kaya nga merong laughter yoga, 'di ba? Parang it laughing itself, 'di ba? Can generate positive mood. Next is meditation. Like I said, yun nga, being aware of everything around us, being aware of our pain and addressing them effectively can be, achieved through meditation. And also exercising, 'di ba? Okay, so endorphins, to summarize, it is a pain reliever. So kailangan natin 'to. Kailangan natin incorporate yung mga behavior na nag-i-induce ng production ng endorphin sa ating self-care. Because we want to minimize the pain. Not really minimize, but to manage pain better. And in order to do that, we should be rich in natural pain relievers in our body. Alright? And I would just like to say na sa apat na hormones, serotonin, endorphin, dopamine, oxytocin, napakarami pa nating activities na pwedeng gawin to boost those. And also, I would just like to say na, let me go back to the slide where I introduced before. And I would just like to say na itong apat na hormones na to, itong apat na happy hormones, they come in little amounts, 'di ba? In little amounts. So talagang in order for you to get more, you have to do more. But then again, our brain is not designed to avoid pain. Our brain is not designed for pleasure only. 'Di ba? Our brain is designed to grow, to develop. We have to experience pain in order for us to grow. And again, we have to obtain balance. Hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon, we seek for pleasurable experiences. We seek for experiences that will not give us pain. Kasi hindi naman tayo mag-grow kung hindi tayo maka-experience ng uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable experiences. So, if you want to obtain or boost the production of these four hormones, there has to be balance in your activity in producing them. Because if you work out, alam niyo yun, for example, what I gave earlier as an example is working out. Too much exercise is also bad. Diba? There has to be balance. Okay. Alright, so now that we understood the connection of our, I apologize. Now that we've understood how we can incorporate self-care into healthcare behaviors that can nurture our body, punta naman tayo sa self-care in the mind. How do we apply self-care in caring for our mind? Okay. First step is to be kind to your mind. So I found this tweet. It says, "You're living through a pandemic and a historical revolution. Please do not beat yourself up if your mental health isn't the best right now." This is a golden truth, honestly. Kasi sobrang yung sitwasyon ngayon, it's traumatic. Kahit sa mo titignan, it is traumatic. The last time that we experienced a pandemic, yung ganito kalala na pandemic is nung Spanish flu pa. 'Di ba? 19 something pa siya. So napakatagal na. And back then, people had the same reaction. 'Di ba? Also now, we should not discount yung mga struggle na nararanasan natin ngayon. Kasi this is a traumatic situation. Halos lahat ng aspect ng livelihood natin, ng buhay natin ay apektado. Okay? Whether it be personal, social, di ba, academic, yung mga career natin, sobrang affected siya. And, hindi in a good way. In a not so good way. In a maybe terrible pa nga if there's a spectrum, not so good, terrible. A lot of people are really suffering right now. So, kung napapansin mo na irritable ka or madali kang malungkot, unstable yung mood mo, it's okay. It's okay. This is a collective traumatic experiences. No, don't beat yourself up if parang naiinis ka. Kasi I was not like this before. I used to be so mentally stable. But right now, since nagsimula itong COVID pandemic, parang hindi na ako naging okay. Okay? Accept your emotions. Be kind to your mind. And, just recognize everything that's happening in you. Next. Okay, number 1, yun nga, as I mentioned earlier, accept and validate your emotion. If you feel sad, recognize it. Don't fight with your sadness na sasabihin mo na, sus, wala akong karapatang malungkot. 'Di ba? Hindi ako malungkotin dati. Dapat ngayon din. Hindi naman ako ganun ka-apektado ng COVID, 'di ba? Halimbawa, sinabi mo yun na nasa komportable naman akong bahay, kumakain kami ng maayos, nandito kumpleto yung buong pamilya ko, but why do I feel sad? 'Di ba? Kung i-discount mo yung sadness mo, it will just add up to guilt. Na dapat hindi ako nalulungkot ngayon kasi as compared to them, I'm okay. That will not do you good. Number 2, do you feel more irritated than usual? No, you could ask yourself what could be behind it. 'Di ba? Number 3, if you feel tired, 'di ba? Accept it. Nakakapagod naman kasi talaga eh. Yung alam niyo, nababasang maraming bad news. Kahit na nakaupo ka lang, for example, nakaupo lang tayo maghapon, 'di ba? But we scroll through social media and it is mentally exhausting to see bad news everywhere. Napaka-rare ng good news ngayon. 'Di ba? So, kahit na hindi tayo masyado nagagalaw, it makes us tired to see all those negative stuff. And, more importantly, we should avoid toxic positivity. So, what is toxic positivity? Alright. So I found this really useful infographic produced by Tanglao Mental Health, and it really defined what toxic positivity is. So sabi dito, toxic positivity is the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy and optimistic state in any situation. It thrives in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of genuine human emotional experience. Okay. When a person exhibits toxic positivity, they deny any and all negative experiences that make us human and live their life this way. Okay, for easier understanding, here is a situation that that shows what toxic positivity is in action. Okay, halimbawa merong nag-rant sa'yo, nag-vent sa'yo na nagsabi na, grabe, nakakapagod ang work from home setup. Okay? Ang response na magko-contain ng toxic positivity is this. Ayan. Pwede rin sabihin ng tao na, alam mo, think positive na lang. Kasi yung iba nga dyan, walang trabaho. Saka huwag mo nang isipin yung pagod. Okay? Most of the time, or, as much as possible, we don't really like talking to people na ganito yung usual reaction kapag nag-vent tayo ng struggles or ng concerns. Bakit? Kasi, pansinin nyo every sentence, think positive na lang. Parang, ini-ignore yung negative emotion na napapagod ka na. 'Di ba? Kasi, you should validate, you should not, you should never invalidate someone's emotions. Alright? Kapag, a good metaphor is, kapag may mainit na takure. Takure ba yung Tagalog ng kettle? So, kapag may mainit na takure, no? Tapos, nadampi yung balat mo. And then, sumigaw ka as a reaction na napaso ka. 'Di ba? Ngayon, nakita yun ng isang tao, hindi pwedeng sabihin nung tao na nakakita na, ano ba yan? Ang OA mo naman. Hindi naman yung mainit. Bakit ka napaso? So, parang ikaw, ang mararamdaman mo, okay, anong gusto mong gawin ko? Ang init naman talaga ng takore. Naramdaman ko yung init ng takore sa balat ko, kaya ako napaso. Okay? Hindi ko pwedeng i-deny na, okay, eto yung takore. Tapos, dumampi yung balat mo. Mainit ba o hindi? Sisigaw ba ako o hindi? This is also the same with emotions. Kapag may nangyari, the tendency for us is to react with our emotions. Diba? Whether we feel sad, we feel angry, we feel lonely. Hindi natin pwedeng i-deny na hindi natin yun naramdaman. Kasi once na naramdaman natin yun, it becomes valid. There is a reason behind that emotions. Okay? So, you have no right to invalidate someone's emotion. Kasi the fact na naramdaman nila yon, there is a reason behind it. Alright? And people who tend to respond in toxic positivity, they tend to do that to minimize the suffering of people, to invalidate their emotions, to ignore negative experiences. And most of the time, people naman are are well-meaning eh. They don't really know na yung mga nasasabi nila can just add up to the negative feeling of the person. Usually naman, alam mo yon, yung mga tao nasasabi nila to para pagaanin yung pakiramdam na nag-grant sa kanila. Diba? Little do they know na mas, there's a high tendency na yung sinabihan nila yon is mas mag-guilty pa. Kasi, balik tayo sa situation. Sinabi nung tao na nag-exhibit ng toxic positivity is, yung iba nga walang trabaho dyan eh, di ba? Tapos ikaw napapagod ka pa. So, yung taong nag-vent, nag-rant, parang, okay, nakaka-guilty, nag-guilty ako. Imbes na, kumbaga, ma-process yung emotion na pagod, napatungan pa siya ng guilt. So, hindi siya nakatulong para, i-translate yung negative emotion ng pagod to something that's more accepting, something that's more supportive. Again, if you can recognize these responses, kung paano ka mag-respond sa tao na nag-vent sa'yo, we can change it. 'Di ba? Again, ito yung mga, gusto ko lang ulitin, talaga yung mga responses that entails toxic positivity. Ayan. Alam mo, think positive ka na lang. Yung iba nga, walang trabaho dyan eh. 'Di ba? Magsasabi pa yan na pasalamat ka nga. 'Di ba? Huwag mo na lang isipin yung pagod. Usually, again, these statements are sinabi ng tao para matulungan. But then again, now we know na mas nakakasama siya kaysa makakatulong dun sa tao na nag-confide ng concern nila sa'yo. So, how do we change this habit? Ayan. So, again, ayan, nag-rant na naman si Si kakilala mo, grabe nakakapagod ang work from home setup. Now that you learn na some of your responses tend to exhibit toxic positivity, you can change it to statements like this, 'di ba? It's hard but I believe in you. In that way, nare-recognize natin na mahirap talaga, na nasasabi mo din dun sa tao na, 'di ba sinabi mo, "It's hard but I believe in you." Nasasabi mo din sa tao through this statement na hindi ka nag-iisa kasi mahirap naman talaga, eh. Pero kaya mo 'yan, naniniwala ako sa'yo. So as you can see, eto, nakalagay dito sa right side, this statement, yung unang statement, nakapagpakita siya ng validation, 'no, na mahirap talaga, nakakapagod, understanding, naiintindihan ko na mahirap, and encouragement because there's this last part na, "I believe in you." 'Di ba? It feels good na masabihan ng ganyan. Kaysa masabihan ka na, yun, yung kanina na, "Bakit ka pa ano, ba't ka pa napapagod? Pasalamat ka nga eh, may trabaho ka eh, sila wala." So, 'pag nasabihan ka ba nun, is that supposed to diminish my tiredness na nararamdaman ko ngayon? 'Di ba? But then again, if we replace that with this more helpful statement, 'di ba parang nakakapag-boost ng moral na kahit napapagod ako, I'm aware na I'm not alone in this. I'm aware na kung kinakaya ng ibang tao, kakayanin ko rin. Okay? Next, helpful statement is, to this concern is, yun, normal lang naman mapagod dahil hindi naman madali ang pinagdadaanan natin ngayon. 'Di ba? It recognizes, yun nga, na normal mapagod, na hindi ka masama dahil napapagod ka kahit na may trabaho ka. 'Di ba? Na it's a normal phenomenon, mapagod kahit ano pang work setup mo. You have every right to voice out kung pagod ka or kahit ano pang emotions. Because again, emotions are valid. Your emotions are valid. 'Di ba? Hindi naman madali ang pinagdadaanan natin ngayon. Yun, kagaya ng first statement. These two statements, entails, validation, encouragement, and understanding. Okay, so what is the relationship of self-care and toxic positivity? So please be mindful of what you say to yourself when you are struggling. You might be exhibiting toxic positivity. Diba? I mentioned nga earlier na as much as possible, we don't want to confide or we don't want to vent to people na ang statements ay nag-exhibit ng toxic positivity. Kasi it adds guilt. It adds guilt to our already present suffering. It doesn't diminish it. Pinapatungan lang siya ng another negative emotion, which is guilt. 'Di ba? Reflect on how you talk to yourself kapag nasa-struggle ka. Let's say na kausap mo yung sarili mo kanina, 'di ba? Paano mo kausapin yung sarili mo? Is it with support? Is it with understanding? Or parang kagaya din ng kanina na dinidismiss mo yung sarili mong suffering? 'Di ba? Partida, ikaw na 'yan. Ikaw na yung nakakaranas ng lahat ng paghihirap ng suffering mo. Pero baka meron ka pa ring tendency to dismiss your own suffering, na balewalain yung own suffering mo. Okay? Be careful. So please reflect on that. Part of self-care is positive self-talk, is helpful self-talk. Kasi what we say to ourselves, it becomes incorporated in our mind. Diba? What we say to ourselves becomes our truth. Okay? So, please be careful. Please be kind to your mind. And as much as possible, unlearn toxic positivity and develop a more kind attitude towards yourself. Okay. Next is practicing gratitude. Okay, so what is gratitude? Diba, ang gratitude is being thankful sa mga bagay na kaya nating gawin, sa mga bagay na meron tayo. So, maging mapagpasalamat. Okay, so why do we have to practice gratitude? Number one is, it helps us maintain positive emotions for longer. Um, Alright. So, let's say na every day you think you're grateful because you're still healthy, you're still with your family is healthy, 'di ba? Nakakakain pa rin kayo na kahit papaano, 'di ba? Kumbaga, yung mga yun kasi we have the tendency to look past those blessings eh. But then, if we remind ourselves every day of what we still have, despite of the things that we have lost, it maintains our positive emotions. Diba? Instead of focusing sa mga nawalan tayo, meron pa rin tayo nitong mga blessing na to. And this is enough para magpatuloy pa rin. So, being grateful generates those positive emotions. Okay, next. Research has shown that gratitude can decrease the possibility of developing depression, as it increases positive feelings. Like, my first point nga, um, yun, being grateful can help you recognize good things instead of just focusing on bad things. Kasi it's good that we can recognize the negative events, the negative emotions happening within us. But then again, if we just focus on those negativity and put the positivity out of the picture, parang mas magiging miserable tayo. It does not promote mental health. There has to be balance. So we should recognize the negative, but then again, we should focus more on the positive para mas maging healthy tayo. And lastly, in gratitude, consistency is key. So, paano ko yun nasabi na if we really want to incorporate gratitude in our self-care, we have to be consistent. Okay, self-care practice. As you wake up and before you go to sleep, list down 3 things that you are grateful for. Kasi like I said earlier, gratitude promotes positive emotion. So just imagine waking up and um, your day is jump started by overflowing positive emotions because you are able to recognize the blessings that you are still enjoying despite everything that's negatively happening nowadays, 'di ba? And as you go to sleep, if you give yourself time to recognize the blessings in your life, it can promote peace of mind eh. It can promote quiet sleep, mahimbing tulog kasi matutulog ka na nagpapasalamat ka. Matutulog ka ng payapa yung isip mo, 'di ba? Kasi naka-focus ka. Ang huli mong maiisip bago ka matulog is yung mga blessings na meron ka. Okay? So I would just like to tell a brief story sa journey ko in my gratitude practice. Ginagawa ko kasi yung kaninang sinabi ko na write 3 things that you're grateful for as you wake up and 3 things that you're grateful for before you go to sleep. So, I just started 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I'm not that really the type of person na grateful. I'm grateful to a certain extent, pero hindi ko siya ini-incorporate sa self-care routine ko. Until 2 weeks ago, 'di ba? In the picture, you can see my self-care notebook. Diyan ko sinusulat yung mga bagay that I'm thankful for. And also, I write journals in there. And honestly, in those 2 weeks, ito walang halong eme. I noticed that I've become, more open to positive emotions, to positive experiences. Kasi like I was saying, quarantine wasn't easy for me as well. 'di ba? Kahit na I'm a counselor, maraming magsasabi na, okay, you're a counselor, you should be able to manage your emotions kahit anong mangyari, kahit na nagkakagulo na sa paligid mo, 'di ba? Counselor ka, dapat you're in zen mode. Pero that's not really the case, even in healthcare professional. Walang exempted sa mga negative emotions or stress na nararanasan ngayong pandemic. So, I realized that I should take active steps in making myself well, in my wellness. So, then I bought a self-care notebook, and as you can see, there are pens with different colors para ma-motivate ako na mag-design kasi iba-ibang colors, visually stimulating yung journal ko, yung self-care notebook ko. So, I started my gratitude journey. So my gratitude journey, kaya ako na-mention kanina na consistency is key. On my first day, ang hirap i-maintain kasi ang dami nangyaring negative nung araw na yun. So, sobrang struggle sa akin na maghanap pa nung, nung magandang nangyari sa araw na yun. But then, I wrote down that I am grateful kasi my family is still complete. It's something that I should be thankful for. This is a blessing na kumpleto pa yung family ko. Healthy kami naman lahat so far, and also, a factor is, komportable kami, 'di ba? Nakakakain ng maayos kahit papaano. And I still have work, despite the economic crisis. So that's something that I'm thankful for. So consistency is key kasi talagang pinilit ko yung sarili ko for the past 2 weeks to find something that I am grateful for. And so far, I'm doing it now, and it's really creating a positive impact on my mental health. Being grateful. I just never thought, kaya ako siya na-share kasi I just never thought that I can do it. Kasi, syempre, as a counselor, marami ako nakikita na practice gratitude or anything, but I tend to focus on other self-care, habits. But then I gave gratitude a try. I gave gratitude journaling a try, and it really works for me. So it's really worth trying. You should try it too. Yeah. So gratitude, incorporating gratitude to your personality can do wonders to your mental health. Okay, so I would just like to explain, 'di ba? Like I was saying, sobrang stressful na nangyayari ngayon. Let's inspect our body and mind's reaction to stress. Okay. So as you can see here, there's a diagram and nakalagay dito fight or flight. So, ang reaction ng body natin to stress is fight or flight. So, I would just like to go back to prehistoric times. Ang nakakapag-cause ng stress to humans are wild animals. Alam niyo naman, humans before, ang talagang main activity nila to gather food, kahit recreational, is to hunt. To hunt. And while hunting, they face wild, huge animals. And it's a threat to them. So just imagine a human, carrying their weapon, and there's this big animal in front of them. So that's a real threat. Yun yung pinakaunang source ng threat nating humans. Wild animals or maybe, thunder. So in this situation, I'm giving wild animals as an example. So since the fear induced by the encounter of a wild animal, it brings stress. So, ang reaction ng prehistoric man is to fight, gamitin niya yung weapon niya and labanan niya yung wild animal na yun, or flight, which is tumakbo. Yun yung reaction natin sa stress. And alam niyo naman, 'di ba, we have evolved from being a prehistoric man, mas naging, sa structure pa lang, 'di ba, mas naging, advance yung ating nasa paligid natin. Basta nag-evolve tayo. But then again, kahit na nag-evolve tayo, ang dami ng modernization na nangyari. Ganito pa rin yung reaction natin to stress. Walang nagbago. 'Di ba? Whether it is a real threat like a wild animal or a threat na hindi or an unreal threat. As an example is ngayon, 'di ba noon nga as I mentioned, wild animal, yun in my situation, wild animal yun induce ng stress dun sa hunter. Ngayon naman, sa sitwasyon natin ngayon, it can be in the form of, a school requirement or a work project or something that you don't want to face kasi it's causing you stress. Our reaction remains the same, 'di ba? Fight or flight. Yung reaction, yung prehistoric man noon, maintindihan mo siya kung bakit gano'n na lang yung adrenaline niya, yung urge niya to fight or to flight kasi it's a real threat. Kumbaga, yung buhay niya yung nakasalalay do'n. So, kung hindi siya makikipaglaban or di siya tatakbo, chances are, mamamatay siya. But then, we still react the same way to things na hindi naman natin ikamamatay or hindi naman ganun kabigat yung threat. 'Di ba? And that's something that we have to manage. Hindi sa lahat ng oras dapat yung katawan natin nasa fight or flight mode. We have to manage our stress. And kasi kapag yung katawan natin laging nasa fight or flight mode, it affects our biology. Kapag nasa fight or flight mode tayo, yung katawan natin wala na yung time. Yung utak natin wala na yung time na i-command yung katawan natin na okay, you have to rest, you have to activate the immune system kasi ang first response ng brain is to run, 'di ba? Unlike when we are not on a fight or flight mode, when we are not stressed, when we're very relaxed, when we're rested, we stimulate the rest and repair mode of our body. Itong rest and repair mode, na-experience natin siya kapag, yun nga, wala tayo sa stress, when we're relaxed. So, kailangan nating utusan actively, consciously, utusan yung katawan natin to combat stress. Kailangan natin sabihan yung utak natin na, okay, brain, work requirement lang to. We have to relax. I can handle this. I can manage this. You don't have to be in fight or flight. Okay? We should relax. This is not a real threat. I can manage this. This is not like a wild animal na anytime anytime will devour me. This is just a work requirement and I can handle this. We should stimulate our bodies, rest and repair mode. And how do we do that? Very simple. We breathe. Okay, so to those who are still watching, diba, I would like us to do a practice. I've been doing this also before I sleep, as I wake up. Diba? 5-finger breathing. Okay, are you ready? Oh, let's do this practice. I'll wait for 2 minutes kasi medyo delayed pag nasa Facebook.
Diba? 5-finger breathing. Okay, are you ready? Let's do this practice. I'll wait for 2 minutes kasi medyo delayed sa Facebook. Diba?
Okay, so are you here? Nag-sync na ba yung natin video? So I want you to raise your hands. Yan. Okay, so please, since we will need our other hand to help us with our left hand, I want you to first raise your left hand. Okay? Now, you can close your eyes. So basically, what I was saying kanina is we're gonna do a breathing exercise. Kasi our breathing, when we breathe, kasi 'di ba, folks, kapag kinakabahan kayo, kamusta yung breathing nyo? Kalmado ba, mabagal ba, or mabilis, or rapid? mababaw na hinga rapid, right? Kapag kinakabahan tayo, kapag tensionado tayo, hindi ganun ka mabilis yung paghinga natin, di ba? And yun yung brain natin na sinasabi na, okay, this is a threat. Kailangan mong, ito yung mga body reactions ng katawan natin kapag nasa threat tayo. Yung mabilis na breathing. So, how can we signal back? Paano tayo magre-reply sa brain natin na, okay, brain, we have to calm down. Kailangan natin as simple as to breathe slowly, to breathe deeply. So, that's what we're going through today. Para kapag nasa stress mode tayo, nasa fight or flight response tayo, kahit anong sitwasyon, kaya nating pakalmahin yung sarili natin. Makakatulong ito para pakalmahin natin yung sarili natin kahit anong stressful situation. Okay, so are you ready? Alright, so this is my left hand. So as you can see in the instruction, diba? Okay, inhale through your nose. You can close your eyes, whatever works for you. But the point of this exercise is for us to be relaxed, to calm our brains. Alright, so spread your fingers wide. With other hand, put one finger against the bottom of the thumb. So here, let's trace our thumb. And as we trace our thumb, we should breathe in. Okay? Breathe in. Breathe in through your nose. Dapat abdominal breathing siya. So, dapat yung chan natin yung nagra-rise, hindi yung chest natin kapag humihinga. Our stomach should rise, not the chest. So, that's abdominal breathing. Alright. So, let's trace our thumb. So, breathe in. Alright. Kapag nandito tayo, breathe out. Breathe out through our nose. Again, nandito na tayo sa forefinger. Breathe in. Slowly, breathe out. Breathe in, slowly, deep. Breathe out through our mouth. Okay. We've come to our ring finger. Again, breathe in, slowly, deeply through our nose, abdominal breathing, and breathe out. Folks, you should, in order for you to be held in breathing out slowly, you should purse your lips. Kapag humigop kayo ng straw, ganun lang dapat kalaki yung hole na nasa lips nyo para mas mabagal yung breathing out nyo. Alright. We've come to our last finger. Okay, breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. For the other hand, for our left hand, start tayo sa thumb. Again, please breathe in. And breathe out. Okay. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And down to our last finger, our pinky. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, so that's our exercise, breathing exercise. Again, the bottom line of this exercise is if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel na everything is just too much, yung utak mo, grabe na yung pagpa-process ng information. Hindi ka na makahinga ng maayos, overloaded na yung thoughts sa brain mo, hindi mo na maintindihan yung emotions na dapat mo maramdaman. Give yourself a break, take a pause, and breathe. Just breathe. Okay. This will not take like 5 minutes of your 24 hours. Do yourself a favor and breathe. Pause. Okay. Okay, so now that we're done with the practice. Let's proceed. Okay, so ayun. So that's how we can, those I've enumerated habits. Ito, pwede natin I advise that you incorporate this method in your self-care routine as a form of relaxation, as a form of recentering, as a form of calming yourself down. This five finger breathing technique. Kasi I also use this, no? When I'm stressed, as I wake up and before I go to sleep, I do this five finger breathing. And nakakatulong siya sa akin para makatulog ako. Kasi relax yung mind ko, relax yung body ko. Okay, so I would just also like to emphasize this, di ba? Sometimes, there are times na masyado nang malalim yung hugot ng ating negative emotions na hindi na siya nadadala ng bastang pagpaprocess lang na being nice to yourself, being aware of your emotions, being aware of how your body reacts to stress, being grateful. May mga negative emotions na dala ng past traumas, that we need help in order to heal from those. So, if you think na you need help, you need other people's help in managing your mental health, there should be no shame to that. If you are a student, you can approach your university counselor. If yun, marami din naman tayong mga healthcare professionals na nag-o-offer ng libreng services. Maraming healthcare clinics na nag-o-offer ng libreng services, and they're just one Google away. Marami din dito sa Facebook na nagka-campaign ng free mental health awareness. Our National Center for Mental Health Suicide Hotline, you can call them anytime if you feel na everything is just overwhelming. There's no shame in asking for help. And our mental health should also be a priority as much as our physical health. Kasi 'di ba, kapag ba pumupunta tayo ng dentista, kapag nalalaman natin na yung isang tao nagpunta sa dentista, inaasar ba natin? 'Di ba? For dental health. Syempre hindi. Sana kapag nalaman natin na meron tayong kakilala na nagpapatingin sa psychologist or nagko-consult sa counselor, wag nating i-shame or tawagin na baliw sila, na may sayad yung utak nila, 'di ba? Na krung-krung. Kasi yung tao bang masakit yung ngipin, yung tao bang masakit yung tiyan, yung tao bang malabo yung mata, shini-shame ba natin sila for having those? 'Di ba hindi? We have to remind ourselves that our brain is an organ. 'Di ba? And organs, nagkakasakit sila kapag hindi inaalagaan mabuti. Parang kung paano ang stomach natin ay organ, ang brain din natin ay organ. So, it should be normal, it should be natural to consult mental health professionals kung nararamdaman mo na hindi okay yung mental health mo. Wala namang halimbawa, magpapatingin lang ako sa psychiatrist, magko-consult na ako sa psychologist kapag ganito na ako. If you feel like you need it, ikaw naman yung nakakaramdam yan eh. If you feel like you need a professional's help in dealing with your pain, your suffering, you should do it. There should be no shame. And dahil nga marami ng free services ngayon, dahil nga, as I mentioned earlier, we are currently experiencing the third wave, which is the mental health crisis. Maraming clinics yung nag-offer ngayon ng free mental health services. There should be no excuse para mag-seek tayo ng professional help if we feel like we need it. Kung feeling natin kailangan natin ng tulong para ma-manage yung mental health natin. Okay, so that concludes yung self-care and the mind. Now we should proceed to the last factor that we should consider in making a holistic self-care routine. So, this pandemic, talamak yung feelings natin ng hopelessness. We feel na our everyday life is meaningless, lack of purpose kasi parang paulit-ulit na lang yung nangyayari araw-araw eh. And we were deprived of the activities that makes us feel worthy. So we also feel worthless. So itong mga to, ito yung mga na-mention kong words, may have something to do with our spirit. In this section, we will discuss self-care and your spirit. When we say spirit, hindi tayo nagre-refer dito sa yung parang spirit na nagagamit sa exorcism or sa, religion. It can pertain to religion. Depende na lang din sa understanding mo. But then, when I say spirit here, naka-refer ito sa diwa natin, sa essence ng pagkatao natin. Okay? So, let's proceed. Alright, so, let me read this. It's okay if reaching your dreams is taking a little longer than usual. No matter the delay, they are still valid. So, balik tayo kanina sa sinasabi ko na maraming nakaka-feel ngayon na hopeless sila. Maraming nakaka-feel ngayon na wala silang purpose. Bakit? Kasi, for example, I know many people na sana magbo-board exam na ako ngayong taon. Sana papasok ako sa med school, sana papasok ako sa law school. Kasi yun yung purpose ko eh. 'Di ba? Yun yung nakikita, yun nakakapag-lift ng spirit ko kapag naalala ko yung purpose na yun. But then, these dreams, na-delay sila eh. Dahil dito sa pandemic. So, the tendency is for them to feel hopeless. And then, meron pa yung uncertainty na kailan ba to matatapos? Kailan ko ba finally na ma-reach na yung dream ko? 'Di ba? Pagdating kaya nung time na yun na okay na lahat, nandito pa rin kaya yung pangarap ko? 'Di ba? Baka by that time, wala na siya. Mahirap nang ibalik. Okay, so this picture is very reassuring. Kasi if we do our best to maintain yung purpose natin, which is, it can be hard during this difficult time, 'di ba? Kapag naging okay na yung lahat, we can continue. And even in this situation, we can still do things, that will keep the fire of our purpose burning. Next, okay, this is also a self-care practice to boost your morale, to boost your spirits, para ipaalala sa'yo kung sino ka ba talaga. Okay? List down your personal strengths. Okay. Let's say na you've come up with the first strength on your list is being kind. Diba? And then, let's say na you've come up with 6. Siguro ngayon, mahirapan ka na isipin kung alin ba yung mga yon, 'di ba? Kahit na, kasi usually kapag tinatanong mo yung mga tao na, okay, what do you like about yourself? Wala silang masagot. Wala tayong masagot. Parang ang hirap kasi lalo kapag nakafocus ka sa negative attributes mo. But my advice is, meron yan. Meron kang personal strength. You just have to recognize it. You just have to remind yourself of the good things that you've done for yourself and for others. Diba? Yun nga, for example, being kind. You're a kind person. You're compassionate. You make sure that people around you feels na they were treated kindly. Okay, so for example, choose one strength to embody that day. Diba? Be kind the whole day. Be conscious in your every action, in your every intention for that day. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to everyone you interact with. And then, let's say na naka-come up ka ng 7 strengths. Diba? You finish the list. 7 strengths, you'll finish in a week. And then, you proceed to another self-care practice. This way, ang purpose ng practice na to is to remind us who we really are. Despite the negative stuff happening, this practice can remind us of our strengths. of what we can offer to the world. Na hindi tayo worthless. Na kasi ganito tayo. Kasi itong strength na to, nakakapag-contribute siya sa mga magagandang nangyayari. Magagandang pwedeng mangyari sa paligid. Okay, so that's a self-care practice that is worth a try. Okay. Alright, also these are the questions that you can ask yourself. Kung feel mo na parang bumababa na yung gana, nawawalan ka na ng gana, magpatuloy sa kung ano man nangyayari ngayon. Nawawala na yung drive mo, yung motivation mo to pursue your purpose. Okay, ask yourself, what is something that lifts your spirit? Now, what is something that brings you joy? Okay, I want you to think of the activity na kapag ginagawa mo yon, parang nakakalimutan mo yung worries, yung kahit na panandalian lang, alam mo yun, nakakalimutan mo na ganito na kalala yung nangyayari sa paligid natin ngayon. So please think of that activity na mako-consider mo as play. Kasi what is play, 'di ba? Laro, play in English, 'di ba? What is play? Play is something na hindi natin kailangan matutunan. Play is something that comes naturally to us. If you can notice kids, 'di ba? Ang kids, majority of their time they spend playing. And they're happy doing it. You know, what we should do is we should connect to our inner child. What is that activity that feels like play? Play doesn't have to be forced. Play is something that should inspire joy, that should bring you fun. Now, in this cruel world, we should find that activity that will bring us joy. Okay, so that's the first consideration. Number 2, what gift can you give to the humanity? So, balik tayo dun sa exercise kanina. To answer this question, di ba, pwede niyo yung gawin para mas maging less challenging yung pagsagot dito sa question number 2. So, what gifts can you give to the humanity? So, folks, please remember that our gifts, is given to us in order for us to reach out to the greater good. Yung gifts natin, dapat ibahagi natin sa iba. 'Di ba? Our gifts can be our contribution to the betterment of humanity, of society. We should remind ourselves of what our gifts are. And then if we remind ourselves of what our gifts are, it redirects us to our purpose. Okay. Number 3, how do you reach out to the greater good? So in our own little way, how do we reach out to the greater good? Alam yun, kahit na it can be as simple as, not sharing fake news in Facebook, 'di ba? It's something big. Kasi you do not contribute to the deception o na talamakang nangyayari ngayon. Mas nagiging aware ka sa mga sinishare mo. You know that this is authentic. You become an instrument to the truth. And that's a greater good truth. Again, also an example is, sharing inspirational quotes in Facebook. Kasi 'di ba, like I said, ang hirap na makakita ng good news ngayon. Ang hirap na makita. But then if you see a post, an inspirational post on your timeline, 'di ba parang kahit papaano nakaka-lift ng spirit, 'di ba? Also, you can reach out to a friend. That's a greater good kasi kindness spreads eh. Let's say na a friend is going through a tough time and you reach out to her, and then because the friend felt good kasi kinamusta mo siya, gagawa siya ng mga bagay na mas mabuti, right? 'Di ba kapag we feel good, we do good things. And that way, kindness spreads. Kindness is contagious. All right. So in your own way, how do you reach to the greater good? Using your strength. Using what you have now. how do you reach to the greater good? Okay, I want to introduce you this character. You know, meron bang nakakilala nito? This character is Anne Panman. So ano to, luma na siya. Galing siya sa lumang cartoon, comic turned cartoon. So Anne Panman is a superhero. But what is unique about Anne Panman is, no, he is not like Superman or Batman. Because Superman and Batman, they have extraordinary powers. Nakakalipad sila. Batman has extraordinary wealth. Diba? Kaya nakatulong sila sa ibang tao. Anne Panman is parang a red bean bread siya. No? But Anne Panman is a superhero. So what does Anne Panman do? What does Anne Panman offer to help other people kung superhero siya? As you can see in the right picture, Anne Panman gives a piece of themselves. You know, we can be Anne Panman in our present situation right now. Kahit na feeling natin is, eto lang tayo, alam mo yun. It goes back to what I was talking about. We should reach out to the greater good. Ano pa yung meron tayo na pwede nating ibahagi sa iba? We can be Anne Panman in this period. You know, huwag kalimutang i-share kung ano meron tayo, kung ano yung strength natin. We should give it to other people para makagawa siya ng positivity waves. Diba? So, we should all be Anne Panman in this period. And also, by saying this, nababust niya yung myth na self-care is selfish. Kasi, that's also a misconception of self-care. Now, when you do self-care, you're selfish kasi sarili mo lang yung iniintindi mo. But, that is never the case. Kasi if you care for yourself, if you know how to strengthen what is already within you, alam mo yung ma-enhance yung strength mo, alagaan mo yung sarili mo, mas makakapagbigay ka sa ibang tao. Diba? Like an empty cup. Kapag ang cup, you know, when you hold 2 cups and yung isang cup walang laman, malalagyan ba niya yung isang cup? Syempre hindi. However, if the other cup is full and nilagyan niya yung isa pang empty cup, makakapag-share sila. Diba? Also, yung metaphor na yun, ang purpose nun is to illustrate or to make you understand na kung kulang sa atin, hindi natin kaya ibigay sa ibang tao. Hindi natin kaya ibigay sa ibang tao yung wala tayo. So, self-care in this sense is important because we have to repeat ourselves para may mabigay pa tayo sa ibang tao. Diba? Like Anne Panman, you know, we cannot give a piece of ourselves kung sa atin pala kulang na yun. You know? So, in this sense, self-care is essential. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is used in order for us to be able to give more to other people. Okay, to take care of the people around us. Okay, now, I would just like to promote siguro konting minutes lang. So, me and my cousin started a campaign, no? The title is Oplan Anne Panman, Fundraising Activities to Support Our Jeepney Drivers. Now we use this campaign. No, actually today is the launching day of the campaign. So we were really excited about this and we were really hoping that people would participate, you know, in order for us to be able to contribute to the greater good. Yun. So this campaign is, I would just like to describe it. The beneficiaries are 100 jeepney drivers and it's a raffle draw for, you know, BTS fans and also non-BTS fans that, you know, have the heart to help support to support our jeepney drivers. So in this way, we are trying to, you know, help other people fulfill our purpose na din para makatulong sa ibang tao. Ayun. So in our own little way, makakatulong sa ibang tao. We will help alleviate the suffering. We can help alleviate the suffering of other people. 'Di ba kasi aside from being able to help other people, which is the priority of why we should be doing fundraising campaigns, it also feels good na it can also boost oxytocin and, dopamine, serotonin, our happy hormones. Kapag nafe-feel mo na may natulungan kang tao. So that's the purpose that can lift our spirit. Okay. So basically, let's go back. Basically, self-care in your spirit, to summarize, is, kumbaga, we should be incorporating activities in our self-care that enhances or strengthens our moral, our spirit. Kumbaga, para hindi natin nakakalimutan kung yung purpose kung bakit ba tayo nabubuhay. Para hindi natin nakakalimutan na parte tayo ng greater good, ng humanity. And as part of humanity, we should be able to share, to contribute to the greater good. We should not forget those things. We should not forget our purpose, our strength, and how it can contribute para makatulong sa ibang tao. Alright, so, okay, now that we've tackled the 3 components of a holistic self-care, okay, I just want to remind you, diba, by this point, discussing those three, and also giving examples of effective or worth trying self-care practices, by this time, maybe you have in mind na how to create or have the plan to create your own self-care routine. I would just like to remind you of these few points. No? Self-care routine is all about setting realistic boundaries. All right. Why did I say this? Let's say na part of your self-care routine is watching Netflix. But then again, masyado ka nang nagiging immerse watching Netflix na inaabot ka hanggang alas 3. 'Di ba? Hanggang alas 3 na napapabayaan mo na yung tulog mo. And that way, nawawala yung boundary na what you want, which is to watch the series, and what you need, which is you need a good night's sleep in order to function optimally the other day. Okay? We need to set realistic boundaries. It's all about that. And also, dun sa online shopping, kapag hindi ka nakapag-set ng maayos na boundary dahil wala namang masama, di ba, sa online shopping. As long as you have the means. As long as it makes you feel good, do it. Di ba? However, nagiging concern siya kapag hindi na siya nagiging balance. Let's say na nag-budget ka for food, and then you saw an item in online shopping na nakalagay doon limited edition, sale. So parang shiny yung toy siya sa'yo. Bibilin mo siya kahit na ito lang yung budget mo. Diba? It can become a concern kasi hindi na naset yung boundaries eh. Diba? And lastly, creating a self-care routine itself is a practice of setting boundaries. For example, you are experiencing a work from home setup. You should create a self-care routine. How do you do that? Let's say na 8 hours yung work mo, 8 to 5. After 5, you should, as much as possible, not do anything related to work. Use the remaining hours of the day to rest, to replenish yourself. Kasi kapag nakalimutan mo na magpahinga, 'di ba? Again, I would just like to reiterate, nakalimutan mo na magpahinga, wala ka ng energy or hindi sapat yung energy na mabibigay mo for you to function optimally the other day. Please set boundaries between work and caring for yourself and doing things that can promote your wellness. Kasi if people become too workaholic, na neglect na nila yung na kailangan magpahinga, kailangan ko matulog, kailangan ko man lang mag-exercise, it's not healthy. So, you should set boundaries. Whatever your context is, you should think about setting realistic boundaries. Also, this is a very essential tip. Use the arithmetic of life when coming up with a self-care routine. So, what is the arithmetic of life? Dun sa tatlo na yun, body, mind, and spirit, please think of those of your habits. Reflect on your habits ngayon. Please start where you are now. Ano yung mga ginagawa mo ngayon na may kinalaman sa body, mind, and spirit? And decide kung alin dun yung dapat mong i-subtract, nabawasan, alin yung pwede mong idagdag para mas maging effective siya, pwede siya matawag na self-care. Ano yung pwede mong idagdag? Ano yung pwede mong i-divide? 'Di ba? Ano yung pwede mong paramihin? Ano yung pwede mong i-multiply? 'Di ba? Pag-desisyon na mo na, okay, I only work out siguro mga once a week. I guess I can multiply the times I work out, in a week. Maybe I can, kung dati once a week, pwede ko siyang gawing thrice a week. So that's multiplication. 'Di ba? So, in creating a self-care routine, you should consider the arithmetic of life. Next, there is no one-size-fits-all self-care routine. Again, if you will create your self-care routine, make it customized. Look at your current situation. Again, you can only begin where you are now. Huwag mo nang hanapin yung mga hindi mo kayang gawin before, o huwag mo nang hanapin yung unrealistic standard. 'Di ba? No, kaya sa working out, huwag mong ipilit na sa first day pa lang ng workout routine mo, makatapos ka na ng 30-minute rigorous high-intensity workout. Huwag ganon. So, please understand your situation. Understand kung ano lang yung kaya mo. Be realistic in setting your self-care routine, in creating your self-care routine. What might work for me may not work for you. Okay? So, your self-care routine should be customized. It should be according to what you need. And our needs are ever-changing. So, ang self-care routine mo ay pwede mabago, depende sa sitwasyon mo, depende sa pag-evolve ng pangangailangan mo. But one thing's for sure, you should base your self-care routine on what you need. Yun yung mahalaga. Again, remember to be holistic. Kasi, diba, the whole point of this webinar is for us to nourish our every aspect of being through self-care to improve our quality of life. One thing's for sure, kapag gagawa ng self-care routine, you have to consider those 3 factors. Wala kang dapat iwanan dun sa tatlo na yun. Kasi these 3 work interconnectedly, if there's such words. These 3 are interconnected. Wala kang pwedeng i-drop sa kanila. Alright? You have to create a self-care routine that will nourish these 3 components of our life. Okay? Okay. Be conscious in your self-care routine. Creating self-care routine is a conscious decision. It is a conscious decision na I have to do this for my well-being. I am deciding that if I do this, this will lead to wellness. Kumbaga, self-care routine itself is an effort. You first have to recognize na my old patterns are not serving me. My old patterns are not leading to my wellness. In fact, it's leading to my deterioration. Hindi siya nakakatulong sa akin. That's why I need to take a self-care routine, to make a self-care routine. Kailangan ko nang alagaan yung sarili ko. Kailangan ko alagaan yung sarili ko. Be conscious. Be aware. So that every minute that you spend in your day is dedicated to, thinking, is this right for me? Is this activity, is this behavior showing that I love myself, that I care for myself? Be intentional and be conscious. in your self-care routine. And lastly, in the beginning, it may be hard, but it gets easier. Back to the anatomy of our brain. Kapag yung brain natin, nakagawa na siya ng neural pathways na na-establish niya na okay, habit na niya to. Yung self-care natin, magiging second nature na siya. I would like to use a metaphor na, alam nyo ba yung self-defense trainings? 'Di ba? What do? Pina-practice natin yun. Uma-attend pa tayo ng classes, 'di ba? We obtain, yung iba pa parang talagang ginagawang sport just so ma-incorporate nila yun sa sarili nila. Para kapag nandiyan na yung danger, let's say merong danger na, magagamit nila yun. Yung naaral nila sa self-defense workshop or sa self-defense course na tinake nila. Parang ganun din dapat sa self-care natin. We should be consistent. We should be consistent in practicing our self-care. Para magiging second nature na siya. Para habang tumatagal, hindi na siya nagiging parang hard work or effort. Kasi sa simula talaga, parang it may feel na parang hirap naman itong gawin. Kasi naka-establish na tayo ng previous habits natin. So, ang hirap ng sirain nun. Kaya kailangan lang natin na maging consistent, maging intentional na kailangan ko itong gawin dahil para to sa akin. Kasi kung magpapadala tayo sa feeling sa simula na parang hirap naman ito, ayoko na itong gawin. Pabalik na lang ako sa old habits ko. Hindi yun nagpo-promote ng wellness. Especially kung yung old habits mo does not serve you good. So, it is important. These are the reminders that I'm giving you if you want to create an effective, customized self-care routine. These are the basics that you have to remember. Okay, so that ends my discussion of how to come up with a holistic approach to self-care. I would just like to end with this really interesting and cute picture that I saw on the internet. So as you can see here, there's this big ball and it's labeled, the big ball is our life. And then there's this dot. Ang label nun is this moment. So we can interpret the dot na ang label ay this moment as our current pandemic. Yung current situation natin ngayon. 'Di ba? And this is the majority of our life. Honestly, this will all be over. Everything passes, diba? This too shall pass, ika nga. So, itong moment na to, once this is over, itong moment na to ng paghihirap, difficulty, suffering, we will look back. We will look back and we will realize na it's just a part of my life. There's really more to life after this. If we just keep hanging on, diba? If we just keep caring for ourselves, if we just keep preserving our well-being, we will come out of this suffering, this difficult time. So, again, I would just like to reiterate the point of this whole webinar. We should look out for ourselves. We have to come out of this pandemic stronger. Kahit na mahirap, 'di ba? That's the only way. That is the only way that we can continue living our life. As simple as developing a self-care routine, it will improve the quality of our life in the present and in the future when everything is finally back to normal. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for so I'll go back to the StreamYard na. Stop sharing. Okay, so I would just like to thank lahat ng mga nakinig, lahat ng nagstay, and especially Women Tech Makers Manila. Thank you so much for inviting me and imparting yung piece of knowledge na nasa akin na I would like to contribute them para to improve, people's quality of life.
So thank you so much. Do we still have like a few minutes to entertain concerns or questions? If there is, so it looks like we don't have questions from those who are watching. So ayun. So I will just wait for a few minutes. Baka meron. Okay, so if that's the case, if hopefully you have learned a lot from my talk, and hopefully you will be able to create your own self-care routine. And again, self-care routine should be intentional. It should have the primary goal of making your life better, improving the quality of your life. Okay, so thank you so much for letting me speak and listening to my talk. Okay.
Inclusive design is thinking about, would everyone be able to interact with that park?
We are smart citizens and let's become smarter together.
And incorporate these practices into your everyday routine.
We really need to help, any possible way that we can.
Because so many of these people out there are suffering, and we're just very blessed.
Women need to feel that they're in the presence of other reliable, responsible, and justice-driven women to further fuel their drive to excel.
If you're improving 1% a day, you'll improve 365% by the end of the year.
Tech is accessible for every Filipino youth, regardless of their gender or socioeconomic status.